Okay, so picture this with me. Turquoise waters,
Mm-hmm.
white sand beaches. You've got a rum punch in your hand. Paradise, right?
Right.
That's what we typically think of when we think about Trinidad and Tobago.
Yeah.
And I mean, those beaches are really something else. But today,
Yes.
on this deep dive, we're going beyond that postcard image. We're
Absolutely.
going to dive into this culture that is as vibrant and diverse as the islands themselves.
Yeah, and I think what people often miss is that beneath this idyllic surface, you have a history that's both really complex and very fascinating.
Yeah.
And it's this history, really, that has shaped Trinidad and Tobago into what we see today.
Right.
This incredible blend of cultures and traditions that have sort of mingled and merged over centuries.
Well, it's like a perfectly seasoned stew,
Yes,
you know?
it really is.
And this deep dive is going to be a feast for the senses.
Yeah,
We're talking music, language, the food, that very unique Trinidadian spirit.
absolutely. It's intoxicating.
So where do we even begin to unpack all of this?
Well, I always think music is a fantastic place to start. It's
Okay.
really the heartbeat of any culture. And in Trinidad and Tobago, that heartbeat is impossible to ignore.
I'm ready to feel the rhythm.
Oh, yeah.
And speaking of rhythm, I mean, we cannot talk about Trinidadian music without mentioning calypso, right?
Right.
Now, I know it's a genre of music, but it feels like so much more than that, you know?
It really is. Calypso is really a powerful form of social commentary
Okay.
that was born out of the struggles and experiences of the African diaspora. And,
Wow.
imagine, if you will, Trinidad and Tobago under colonial rule. Calypso became the voice of those who were marginalized, right?
Yeah.
It was this way to speak truth, to power through often, witty and subversive lyrics.
So it's musical satire,
Yeah,
but with a very specific message.
exactly. That's a great way to put it.
Wow. Okay.
And the beauty of it was, often it was disguised, right? So, colonial authorities may not have even realized they were being critiqued,
Whoa.
while at the same time, the locals were entirely in on the joke.
Oh, that's incredible. Are there any, specific examples that come to mind?
Oh, there are so many.
Like a calypso song that, really made waves?
Well, one that immediately comes to mind is The Rosary by the Mighty Spoiler from 1966,
Yeah.
which basically tells the story of this woman who uses her rosary beads to count the men she's been with.
Oh, my God.
It caused quite a scandal at the time, especially, you can imagine, within the Catholic Church.
Yeah, I can only imagine.
Yeah.
Talk about pushing boundaries.
Right.
And speaking of legends, we have to talk about the Mighty Sparrow and Lord Kitchener.
Yes.
I mean, these names are synonymous with calypso, right?
They really are.
You
You can't talk about one without the other.
can't talk about one without the other.
Exactly.
And they were
Larger-than-life characters.
they used their platform to really address these social and political issues head on.
Absolutely. The Mighty Sparrow, for instance, was really known for his incredibly sharp wit
Yeah.
and, commentary on everything from, colonialism to corruption, really running the gamut
Oh,
of
they do, yeah.
social ills.
And they did it all through music,
Right.
making people dance, but also making them think.
Exactly.
Oh my goodness, it's such a unique form of expression.
Yeah, it really is.
So we've got calypso, which is, this incredibly rich and layered genre.
Mm.
But then there's also soca,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
Which is like the life of the party
That's a great way to put it.
from what I've heard.
If calypso is the thoughtful elder, right? Soca is that energetic youth that's
Yeah.
just bursting with energy and vibrancy,
Okay.
It takes those infectious calypso rhythms and infuses them with, elements of Indian and African music
Right.
to create something, again, quite new.
That's so fascinating how each of these genres kind of reflects
Yeah.
a different aspect of Trinidadian history, right?
Absolutely.
And culture. You can practically trace
You can trace the evolution.
the evolution of the island
Yeah.
through its music.
Exactly. Yeah.
And speaking of which, there's one more musical element that we can't forget to talk about,
Okay.
and that's the steelpan.
The Steelpan.
Now, I read that it was actually born out of hardship,
Mm.
which is just unbelievable to me, considering how joyful the music is.
It is a remarkable story of resilience and ingenuity.
Okay.
Picture this.
Oh.
The year is 1939,
Mm-hmm.
Trinidad is still under British colonial rule.
Right.
And, oil drums
Yeah, yeah.
discarded, considered useless.
Right.
They're everywhere.
Yeah.
But the Trinidadian people, they saw something else. They saw possibility. They saw,
Yeah. So they took these symbols of industry and they transformed them
They did.
into instruments.
Exactly.
That's incredible.
They started experimenting with the drums, shaping them, tuning them to create different notes.
Wow.
And that's how the steel pan was born.
Incredible.
Out of, this symbol of kind of, almost oppression, it became, the symbol of resistance, this creativity born from adversity.
Wow. And now it's this globally recognized instrument, right?
Oh, it really is. I mean, there are steel pan orchestras all over the world.
Wow.
And, here in Trinidad, the annual panorama competition is a testament to just how important it's become. Imagine, thousands of people gathered the air alive with the sound of these steel drums reverberating.
Wow. Okay.
That's something else.
Before we get totally lost in the music,
Right.
because I could talk about this all day.
As could I.
Oh, we have to talk about another fascinating aspect of Trinidadian culture, and that's the language.
That's right. And let me tell you, when it comes to language, Trinidad is a whole vibe.
Because it's not just what they say, it's how they say it.
Right. You've hit the nail on the head.
It's that, like,
Trinidadian Creole, or Trini as it's often called, is this vibrant reflection of the island's history. It's this linguistic tapestry woven from all these different cultural threads.
it's like you can hear these echoes of all these different languages in every sentence.
That's exactly right. Yeah, yeah.
So you have the base of English and Spanish, of course.
Of course. Yeah.
From the colonial period.
Right.
But you listen closely, and you can also hear influences from various African languages.
Absolutely.
Hindi, even, remnants of the indigenous languages that were spoken long before colonization.
Exactly.
It's amazing how languages can be such a living record
It is.
of a nation's past.
It's fascinating, isn't it?
Yeah. And it's not just the words themselves.
Right.
It's the expression. It's the slang.
Oh, the slang's fantastic.
Take
steups.
For example. Steups. Dare you to try to explain that one.
I mean, it's barely even a word, is it? It's more of a sound, really.
Yes.
That sort of sucking of air through the teeth.
It's true. You can't even really write it down. You have to hear it.
You have to hear it exactly.
But it's so expressive.
Oh, it is.
You know exactly what someone means when they stoops at you.
You do. You really do. And it's so quintessentially Trinidadian, isn't it?
Yes.
That one sound can convey just a wealth of meaning.
And then there's papayo.
Papayo. Okay. That one just sounds, I don't even know, musical almost.
Right. And it's the perfect word for when you're shocked, truly floored, disbelief, maybe even a little bit of judgment, all thrown in for good measure.
So it's not just, oh, wow. It's more like, oh, wow, really? You did that.
Exactly. It's like a gasp and an eye roll and a seriously, all at the same time. Pure expression.
Papayo, I'm telling you, that word alone is a whole mood. I love it.
Right. It's like they've bottled up pure Trini energy in a single word. And that's what makes this so fascinating. One word, so much meaning. You rarely see that kind of efficiency in other languages.
Absolutely. It's a testament to the creativity, the ingenuity of the people. They've taken these everyday experiences, these universal feelings, and they've found a way to express them with such precision and, dare I say, flair.
Precision and flair. I think you just summed up Trinidadian Creole perfectly. But speaking of universal feelings, there's this one word I've always found fascinating. It's a feeling we all know, unfortunately.
Yeah. Oh, I think I know where you're going with this. Go on. Tell me more.
Okay. So imagine that feeling you get after, say, a breakup. But it's not just sadness. It's this deep, almost visceral ache.
Yeah.
Another feeling.
I do. And you're right. It's more than just sadness. There's a longing there, a sense of loss that goes beyond words. Well, almost beyond words. So there's definitely a word for it, and it's a beauty. Tabanca.
Tabanca.
Yeah.
Which is just that feeling after a breakup, that lingering sadness.
Yeah.
And I think it's so universal.
It is universal.
But they have the perfect word for it.
They really do, and it speaks to their emotional depth of the language as well, wouldn't you say?
Yes.
That even these complex feelings can be captured in a single word.
It's incredible. And it reminds us that even though we're talking about a very specific culture here,
yes,
there are these universal human experiences that,
that bind us all.
That we all share.
Absolutely.
But of course, it wouldn't be a deep dive into Trinidad and Tobago without talking about Bacchanal.
Bacchanal. I love that word. The word itself just evokes a sense of, joyous chaos, doesn't it?
It really does.
Yeah.
Okay, we've covered music, we've covered language. It feels like we're just scratching the surface here.
We are.
And what else makes this culture so unique?
Well, There's a reason Bacchanal is so deeply rooted in the Trinidadian vocabulary.
Okay.
It really gets to the heart of Carnival,
Yeah.
which is, arguably the most recognizable kind of representation of the culture.
Yeah, Carnival. Now, that's something I've always wanted to experience firsthand.
It's amazing.
The music, the costumes, the energy.
Oh, the energy is incredible.
It just seems like this total explosion of joy.
It is, but to see Carnival as just a big party is really a mistake.
Okay.
There's so much more to it than meets the eye.
Yeah, I knew there had to be more to the story, right?
Yeah.
You mentioned Bacchanal.
Yeah.
This joyous chaos.
Yeah.
How does that tie into Carnival, though?
Well, you have to remember the historical context, right?
Right.
We were talking about Trinidad and Tobago's, long history of colonization.
Mm-hmm.
Carnival really emerged as a form of resistance against that colonial oppression.
Right.
It was a way for, the enslaved African population to kind of celebrate their heritage,
Yeah.
to mock their oppressors and to do it all under the guise of revelry and celebration.
So it's like this celebration of freedom
Yeah.
disguised as a party.
Exactly. And that spirit of liberation is still very much present in Carnival today.
Okay.
It's a time when social norms are kind of, momentarily suspended.
Yeah.
Everyone, regardless of background, comes together to just celebrate life.
Well, that's awesome. You mentioned playing Maz earlier,
Yes, playing Mass.
and I'd love to kind of dig into that a bit more.
Yeah, so playing Mass is at the heart of Carnival.
Okay.
And, imagine this. You're not just wearing a costume, right?
Right.
You are embodying a character.
Okay.
You might be, a historical figure. You might be a mythical creature.
Wow.
But you become, this part of this much larger story that's unfolding
Okay.
through the music, through the dance, through these elaborate costumes.
Wow.
It's about, really letting go of inhibitions,
Yeah.
embracing the energy of the crowd, and just losing yourself in the moment.
That sounds like a truly transformative experience.
It is.
No wonder it's such a central part of the culture.
It's a powerful reminder, I think, too,
Yeah.
of the resilience of the human spirit,
Yeah.
that even when faced with adversity, we can find joy, we can celebrate, and we can
Wow.
connect with one another through these shared traditions.
Speaking of celebrations, I feel like we can't talk about Trinidad and Tobago without mentioning the food.
Yes. One detail that caught my eye in the sources was the mention of traditional Trinidadian cuisine. Have you ever had it?
Oh, yeah.
What's it like?
Trinidadian cuisine. It's an experience.
Really?
It's a journey for your taste buds. You get this incredible interplay of spices and ingredients reflecting, the island's rich cultural tapestry.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's a melting pot of flavors, just like the culture itself.
It is.
One dish that stands out is called doubles. Have you heard of that?
Doubles. No. What's that? What is it?
Oh, it's fantastic. It's like this really popular street food. Imagine soft, fluffy fried bread.
Okay.
It's called bara. And it's filled with curried chickpeas, which they call chana.
Chana.
Chana, yeah. And the combination of textures and flavors, it's just divine. It's a true representation of how Trinidadian cuisine blends these different influences so seamlessly.
Okay. Now my mouth is watering.
What other culinary delights should we be familiar with?
Oh, where do I begin? Trinidadian cuisine really is this wonderful fusion of, African, Indian, European, indigenous influences.
Mm-hmm.
You have dishes like pilau, which is, it's a one-pot rice dish cooked in coconut milk with pigeon peas, meat, spices. It's very hearty, very flavorful, perfect for sharing.
That sounds delicious. And again, it just highlights that blend of cultures, right?
It does.
That we keep coming back to.
That's right. And then you have bacon shark.
Bacon shark.
Which is, a street food institution.
Okay.
Picture this. Soft, fluffy, fried bread called bake. It's filled with seasoned, fried shark meat.
Wow, okay.
And then you top it with your choice of sauces and slaw.
Oh, my goodness.
It's messy. It's delicious. It's a must-try when you're in Trinidad.
I love how even the food tells this story.
It does.
Of cultural exchange and fusion.
Absolutely.
It's fantastic. It's like a delicious history lesson.
It is.
But speaking of history, you mentioned that there were these hidden gems in Trinidad and Tobago, right?
Yes.
Things that most people wouldn't expect. What did you have in mind?
Well, forget man-made wonders for a second.
Okay.
Trinidad is home to a natural phenomenon that is as bizarre as it is fascinating.
Okay.
It's called the pitch lake.
The pitch lake? What in the world is that?
Okay, so imagine a lake,
okay,
but instead of water, it's filled with natural asphalt.
You're kidding me? A lake of asphalt.
A lake of asphalt, the largest natural asphalt lake in the world.
No way.
Yes, it's been a source of fascination and a resource for centuries.
That's incredible. It just goes to show that there's always something new to discover.
Always.
Even in places we think we know.
Absolutely.
That's really cool.
And then, if you prefer your natural wonders a little less sort of industrial,
Okay.
you have the Asa Wright Nature Center, which is this haven for biodiversity,
Okay.
especially birds.
Wow.
It's a real testament to the island's commitment to ecotourism and conservation.
So you've got this incredible mix of cultural vibrancy and delicious food, unique natural wonders.
Yeah.
But there's something else too, isn't there?
There is.
Something that ties it all together.
That intangible Trinidadian spirit. Right?
Yeah.
That, it's hard to define, but you feel it everywhere you go.
It's like this undercurrent of joy and resilience and warmth.
It is.
It's really neat. And it reminds me, we haven't even really talked too much about liming.
Oh, liming, yeah.
You described it as this way of life.
It's a philosophy, almost. Yeah. Imagine this. You're with friends, family, good company.
Mm-hmm.
You're sharing food, you're sharing stories, you're sharing laughter.
Yeah.
Maybe there's music, maybe there's not. You're simply enjoying the moment.
Yeah.
The company, the simple pleasure of just being alive, that's liming.
That sounds like the antidote to like the hustle and bustle of modern life.
The antidote to the rat race.
It does.
It really is. It's about slowing down,
Yeah.
appreciating the present moment, and connecting with the people around you.
I love that. That sounds like something that, we could all use a little bit more of.
Absolutely.
But amidst this really relaxed atmosphere,
Yes.
I also understand that Trinidad and Tobago has produced some incredible individuals who've gone on to achieve some really remarkable things.
Oh, absolutely. Trinidad and Tobago may be a small nation, but its people have had a huge impact on the world stage in a variety of different fields.
It's amazing to me how a place with like such a laid-back vibe can also be this breeding ground for, such talent and ambition.
It's incredible, isn't it?
What is it about the culture that kind of fosters this drive?
Well, I think, it goes back to that spirit of resilience we've talked about.
Right.
Trinidad and Tobago has faced some serious challenges throughout its history.
Yeah.
But its people always, they find a way to overcome that adversity and, strive for excellence. They have this point to prove to the world, and they do it with like passion and this real flair.
And they have some incredible role models to look up to.
Oh, they really do. In the world of sports, you've got Brian Lara.
Okay.
I mean, for cricket fans, that name needs no introduction.
Okay.
His record-breaking score in Test cricket is the stuff of legends, really.
It's funny you mentioned cricket, and I immediately think of like England
Right.
and India.
Yeah.
I had no idea it was so big in Trinidad and Tobago.
Oh, it's huge. It's like a religion there.
Wow.
I mean, when Brian Lara was at bat, the whole nation held its breath.
Oh, wow.
And it's not just cricket, of course. You've got Addo Bolden, the Olympic sprinter.
Right. They put Trinidad and Tobago on the map for track and field.
Yeah.
He's a national hero. And, his accomplishments inspired a whole generation of young athletes.
To see that kind of success on a global stage, I mean, it must have such a huge impact.
Oh, it's immeasurable.
Yeah.
These figures become, more than just athletes or celebrities. They become really symbols of what's possible, right? It's this proof that, even a small island nation can produce these giants.
Speaking of giants, we can't forget the political sphere either.
Oh, absolutely. Dr. Eric Williams, Trinidad and Tobago's first prime minister, was just this towering figure.
Wow.
He's revered as the father of the nation.
Wow.
He led the country to independence in 1962.
Okay.
And really laid the groundwork for its modern democracy.
Wow. That's a legacy that I'm sure continues to shape the nation today.
Without a doubt. And then these achievements kind of extend, to all realms of accomplishment and achievement.
To all fields.
Right.
Take, for instance, Janelle Penny Commission and Wendy Fitzwilliam, both crowned Miss Universe.
Wow.
Now, these women didn't just, win a beauty pageant.
Right.
They really challenged, these global, perceptions of beauty that existed at the time.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
They showed the world that beauty comes in all shades.
They did.
And that Trinidadian women
Absolutely
are a force to be reckoned with.
They are a force of nature.
That's fantastic.
You know, they became these symbols of empowerment,
Yeah.
not just for, you know, women in Trinidad and Tobago,
Right.
but really for, you know, women of color all over the world.
Yeah.
Their victories resonated, you know, far beyond the world of pageantry.
Wow. It's so inspiring to see, you know,
It is.
how much one nation can achieve. When its people are united by, you know, that sense of pride and resilience and that, like, very specific, very palpable, you know,
Yes.
Trinidadian spirit.
You feel it, you know?
Yes.
You go there and you feel it.
It's tangible. As we wrap up this deep dive here,
Yeah.
I keep coming back to this idea of liming.
Liming.
It feels like the perfect embodiment of everything we talked about today, you know?
It does.
The joy, the connection, the, you know, appreciation for life's simple pleasures.
You know, it's not just a pastime.
Yeah.
It's an attitude. It's a way of life
Mm-hmm.
that, you know, really does permeate the culture.
It's beautiful.
It's about embracing the moment, you know, connecting with the people that you love,
Yeah.
finding that joy in the everyday.
It's a beautiful, beautiful concept. And I think, you know,
I think we could all use a little more liming.
we could all use a little more of that in our lives.
A little Trinidadian lime.
A little lime never hurt anyone.
Never hurt anyone, that's right.
Well said. So as we say goodbye to the sun-kissed shores of Trinidad and Tobago for now,
Yeah.
what is the one thing you hope our listeners take away from this deep dive?
I hope it inspires a sense of curiosity, you know? I hope it makes them, you know, want to look beyond the surface, you know, discover the hidden gems that are out there. Trinidad and Tobago really, I think, is this perfect example that, you know, the most rewarding experiences often lie in the unexpected.
Beautifully said. Don't judge a book by its cover.
That's right.
Or an island by its beaches,
Just
right?
do it.
There's a million stories out there waiting to be discovered.
Oh, there are.
If you just know where to look.
Absolutely.
And to all of our listeners out there, we leave you with this. What will you uncover
Yeah.
when you dare to dive a little deeper?
Happy exploring.
Until next time, keep exploring, keep learning, and keep diving deep.